time period. That was on Love and Marriage DC. Mm-hmm. I was stressed the fuck out. Mm-hmm. Love and Marriage DC, let me tell you, that was my greatest nightmare, but my greatest teacher. Because it basically, it put me out there without any context. Like when I tell you I was ranting and raving, I was at my wit's end with the marriage. And I was like doing all that I could. I'm like trying to get this dude to see time is of the essence. Like I really need you to step up. I need you to wake up. Please. Yes. But imagine you being on camera and having a conversation, and now something said in the conversation that pops you off. They ain't showing nothing about that. They just show you pop off. So when I tell you, it was like every single scene I was yelling and I was going off. And when I tell you, the whole synopsis of the show was get to know the real full me. Get to know the real me. And they got me, like, only had me yelling and going crazy, right? Yo, it was terrible. And it was crazy because I came from a show where I was a fan favorite, and then now I'm supposed to have my own show, and I'm like the most hated. And it was tough. I was like, damn, they are on me hard. And I had to get to the point where I said, you know what? I feel like this is the part of the story where my ego starts to die. I had to kill my ego. I had to care even less about what people thought about me because only I knew what was really going on, behind the scenes. And it was a huge test of just like, all right, let's see how much you've grown. How did that show come about? So when I left Housewives, there was one of the producers that used to be a part of Housewives franchise who started his own. He approached me with support and came at me with some like, we black and, these white shows, they don't show black people in the light that they should be shown in. And, it can be natural drama. It doesn't have to be this scripted drama. And it created a relationship of like, all right, let's see what we can do together. Let's work together. So I believed him when he used the black card and he did worse than white folks.
Love and Marriage DC did you worse than Real Housewives?
Yeah. It was worse. It was like, there was no context. There was no reason to all of the fussing and fighting. It was like, it's Love and Marriage. So show the full outlook of what a Love and Marriage, like show what all of it looks like, right? I have always been very open on camera. Like, I like to be as transparent as possible. But if my spouse is not also that way, then if you're not saying anything, they're only going to be showing what I'm saying. So it was very unbalanced. And then it was just like, we got her. Dog her ass out. Like, it was like, my name was used to gain the audience. And I mean, I felt like I got trashed on that show. They didn't show.
Now, Monique, listen. Make sure you like this video as you are coming in. Make sure you like it. What is up, y'all? It's your girl, Brand New, and honey, I am back in the building. And today, honey, we gonna talk about Miss Monique Samuels. Okay, she did that interview, honey, with the guy. What is the man's name? She was on the J Hill podcast. Yeah. And y'all know how Monique is. She is Miss Libra. She is a lying Libra. I will say this, though. I do like Monique's growth. I do feel like she has grown. But, girl, you can't blame all this on Carlos King. I see several people, they done did these videos. See, he did her. He did her the way he did Mel. And here y'all go, conflating issues once again. Okay? Here y'all go, conflating issues. I'm going to read to y'all how people felt about Monique when she was down to the Love and Marriage DC. But she is right. She was a fan favorite on Potomac, and then on DC, you were hated because people really saw you for who and what you were during that time. So you had a lot of toxic energy. You kept cutting Chris off. That was you. And Carlos King even spoke on this a while ago. He said people always like to blame him for stuff when they don't look good to the audience. And then all of a sudden they look good to the audience. Now, they're not going to blame him for stuff. Yeah, I do think that some people do that. Okay, so let me read to y'all how these people felt about Monique at that time. Because remember, a lot of people hated her for what she did to Candace. A person says, I never believed Monique like Candace. She hates the fact that Candace can be herself while she isn't sure exactly who she is. Another person, I liked Monique at first until I realized how phony she is. Her and Phaedra have a lot in common. She got everyone on her side until the actual footage came out and people saw that she started that mess. That was pertaining to the fight that happened between her and Candace season 5. And it was more so on her. She was the aggressor. She was antagonizing Candace. She even had her at her lake house starting stuff with her. She was acting like a bully and beat up on Candace, but dragged Giselle at the reunion. That's who you really wanted to get at, but you're a coward, so you went for Candace. Okay? What, the youngest of the cast, the smallest? Okay, well, but Candace got a big mouth. Yeah, Candace talk her shiggity. Okay, and I told y'all Candace need to get some karate lessons, honey, to match that mouth. Okay, you gonna have to be able to drag these heifers. Okay, but still, Monique was wrong. This girl or woman was like a little sister to you. You would say that. Why would you fight her? Why won't you? Even Robin was like, yeah, Candace gets on our damn nerves, but we know what that's about. We're not about to fight her. We're not about to do all this and that to her. Just a mess. So even the girl saw it. And it was the girl she was trying to get, she was looking for validation from. She wanted Giselle's approval. I told y'all that. Some of these women act like they can't stand Giselle, but they be wanting her approval. Another person says, I have never seen it for Monique, but I clocked her inauthenticity since season 4. Monique is a serial social climber. Chris was just a moment in time. There's always a problem, and it's always someone else's fault. She had a problem with Charisse and Candace. They're plotting on her. She didn't like the edit at the reunion. She didn't like the edit on Love and Marriage DC. Because remember, once everybody realized who was the real aggressor of that fight, the audience turned on her. She tried to be manipulative and vindictive and get ahead of the story and say, yeah, Candace threw a drink on me and she did this. And remember, she got ahead of it and until the footage aired on the show and we saw who the real aggressor was. And she didn't like that she looked so bad. And that's why she quit Real Housewives of Potomac. She didn't get a good edit. It didn't go in her favor. Now remember, everything went in her favor for part 1 of the season 5 reunion where she dragged Giselle, right? So she was going to come back to the show for season 6, right? And then that last part, Andy and the girls and everybody was trying to hold her accountable and responsible for her actions. She couldn't do it. She couldn't, she couldn't deal with it. A mess. A mess, a mess, a mess. Everyone thought she said, I have 4 homes. It was such a read, and it wasn't. I still remember when her pastor in season 5 told her that those women weren't impressed with what she had. She thought those things gave her status, and it didn't. Yeah, she thought that she was kind of better than the girls since she was married. She always threw her marriage in her face. And at that time, I'm not gonna lie, it did look like, Monique is the one with this beautiful family. And I still, feel like she had a beautiful family. But girl, you were not innocent. To me, she wasn't innocent with the whole Chris situation. I do believe she realized he had money and she wanted to procreate with him. Even the girl Gigi, remember, she came out and said that they looked up how much money Chris Samuels was worth. And then you start the relationship in a employer-employee relationship with Chris. Okay, so you were trying to get to that bag. Now, that's the truth you need to be willing to tell, Monique. A mess. Oh, another person says Monique appeared to be playing house when she was with Chris. She was not ready for the whole family dynamics. I think she wanted her husband and lavish lifestyle that he came with. And behind her smile, she appeared to be angry underneath. Yeah, I noticed that too. Miss Perfect Patty, and everything that I do has to be perfect and look perfect. And remember, down to her and Giselle making them damn pancakes. And Wendy and Robin noticed how crazy she was. Remember when she wouldn't even let Ashley, Candace, and Giselle have that talk about Michael stepping out on Ashley? She wanted them to see her damn fire that she built, and she wanted them to see her worth. Remember, she said on this interview, I felt in my marriage I had to keep proving myself. You kept doing that with other people too, not just in your marriage. Another person says Monique always was disingenuous on Real Housewives of Potomac. She seemed turned off by Chris and was a martyr in her at-home segments with the family. To be fair, Chris was cringe with that big soda bottle joke, and his mom calling Monique a heifer is pretty unkind, yeah. But remember, the mother never liked her and was telling her to get a job. Monique wants to party and do her thing. She's not a calm homebody by any stretch. And remember the not for lazy moms and working yourself into exhaustion. See, all of that backwards. And remember, Giselle was trying to tell her, girl, that's not a good name for your business. But because it was Giselle, you know, it was kind of like, and I understood that about Monique. Like, yeah, this bitch be hating and, you know, she don't like my business name. Giselle and Robin, though, they was right about that damn business name. Not for lazy moms. Like, bitch, what's wrong with being a lazy mom? Okay. Shit, ain't nothing wrong with it. But yeah, she wanted to work herself, you know, to exhaustion. And that's why I never understood, because Chris would be like, girl, I'm paying for everything. Like, set yourself up. Set this up. You know, like, a mess. A mess. Another person says Monique never had any good intentions with her marriage to that man. I believe her life didn't turn out the way she wanted. She thought she was going to be a socialite housewife like those rich women who actually possess intelligence and decorum. She only had children with him to keep a check. The only person she cares about is herself. She is exactly like Portia. Ooh, not Portia. I like her better than Portia. I will say that. I think she's a little bit more real and likable than Portia. Monique's assault on Candace is still the most ugly and shocking thing I've ever seen on any Real Housewives show. Having to watch the aftermath on that show, as well as the social media blogger reaction, nearly made me cancel my entire subscription for the show. It was way too much. Another person says, unpopular opinion, Giselle clocked her from day one, but because she is unlikable, people call it jealousy. I don't think she was jealous. She just saw right through Monique's ass. Giselle got her shit with her, but she wasn't wrong about that one. Yeah, I think so too. I think Giselle noticed she kept talking about all the things she had, and Giselle even reminded her, you know, well, if it wasn't for your husband, you know, you wouldn't even have most of the things that you have. So I think it was some of that. And I think Giselle, you know, was jealous at the time, you know. Okay, so let's see how people are responding to her, you know, putting Carlos King out there. So one person says, Carlos King is all about ratings, just like Bravo. He doesn't care about any of them. That maniacal laugh at every little thing they say makes people think he's their friend. Another person says, I'm not surprised at all. Carlos gives off dark, deceptive energy. Another person says, if my husband refuses to participate on a show about marriage, how is anyone else to blame for that? People like her concern me. Yeah, and if you watch the interview, I can't play all of it, she even mentioned how one of her therapists told her that Chris warned her about marrying him. You know, he had mentioned he wasn't the marrying kind, and he wasn't, that was something Monique always wanted. You know, so yeah, like as women, we get ourselves into trouble when we don't listen to men when they tell us the truth about how they feel about relationships, how they feel about getting married, having children. You know, if a person doesn't really have a desire to do that, and then they do that with you anyways, and then you keep asking for more and more and more, it's not fair to that person. And she learned that, right? But you gotta be honest, Monique. You can't blame all of this on Carlos. I know a lot of people, you know, they're going to take what she said and conflate it with the whole Melody situation. And, you know, no, this is Monique Samuels. See, before we had Melody and Bartell, we had Monique Samuels, Chris Samuels. over there on Real Housewives of Potomac, and people could see through Monique and her bullshickety. I just read y'all the comments. So the fact that, I notice what people like to do. They like to conflate issues. Carlos is finally getting exposed now. First, it was Candy, Melody, Winter, Aikisha, Cynthia. Cynthia exposed Carlos. Now Monique. Everyone can't be lying on him. Seems like a user of black women and has narcissistic tendencies. What do y'all think about that? Oh, Chris's mom wanted her to get a job, not acknowledging being a mom of young children and organizing the housework is work. Mom was jealous because he's a mama's boy. Monique seems to continue to thrive despite the haters. Yeah, it looked like she's on a better path than what she was on, because she wasn't being herself, and so many of us, we called her on it. Remember, she kept lying about, the fight with Candace, how it happened, and child, it was a mess. Monique was an embarrassment on Love and Marriage DC, throwing her own husband under the bus for a storyline. Yeah. Monique was mad because she was supposed to be the star of Love and Marriage DC, and it fell flat because people were more interested in the other couple. She was one of my faves when she came on Real Housewives of Potomac, but just like Melody, I quickly saw through her. Oh. Another person says since her start on TV, Monique never took full accountability for her negative contributions or actions. She got her ways and often berated Chris too. Yeah, she did. Another person says several things can be true. I agree that the edit likely didn't give the full story because rarely it ever does, but there are consistencies about her personality on both shows that make her hard to like. I could barely tolerate her on either show. That being said, I don't know that lady personally, and I'm glad that a black woman knows her worth and is in a position to walk away from any less than ideal situation. I'm rooting for her. Oh, another person has an interesting point of view. I think that Carlos hired her out of spite of being vindictive towards Andy Cohen, and all the while creating drama behind the scenes and just being sinister, and probably did have something to do with the fiasco between Candy, Phaedra, and Portia. He's so evil. What do y'all think of that? Now, that right there, I always kind of thought about, like, yeah, he wanted one of Andy's, old stars, honey. But I thought he wanted to, because he mentioned about helping Nene, get some work. So I'm not going to blame all this on Carlos. I'm sorry. Not with Monique's history, you guys. Now, if it was somebody else, the whole Aikisha situation, that's a little bit different. Okay, we going to get to that when we talk about Bill Collective. But yeah, what do y'all think of this? Do y'all feel like Carlos, did Monique Samuels dirty, or did she do it to herself? And is she unwilling to be accountable for how she comes across on these shows? Because I think if people would have really liked Monique, she wouldn't even be blaming Carlos. It's just always, I notice what some of these people do. If they don't look that good to the viewing audience, then it's like, we got to blame somebody, right? We got to blame it on somebody else. All right, you guys, that's all I have to say about that. And I will check you guys out in the next video.